So determination of hardness present in the given water sample by using complexometric titration. So complexometric titration is nothing but when this EDTA called ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid, this EDTA is added to water. So this EDTA is able to form complex with calcium and magnesium ions, which is responsible for hardness. That's the reason why it is called a complexometric titration. Hard water is nothing but the water sample which contains dissolved salts of calcium and magnesium ions. Okay, so when that calcium and magnesium ions present in the water, so when it is treated with EDTA, this EDTA is able to form complex with hardness, hence it is called a complexometric titration. In this complexometric titration, we are using the substances like disodium salt of ethylene diamine, sorry, EDTA, ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid, and the indicator used is eriochrome black tea, whose color is blue, and we have to maintain the reaction condition at 9 to 10 pH by adding basic buffer solution. End point color will be color changes from red to blue. So these are the conditions in this complexometric titration. So in this complexometry, EDTA is able to form complex with this hardness causing salts like calcium and magnesium. Now let us see what is the principle involved in this estimation of hardness. This is the chemical structure of EDTA, ethylene diamine. So this is ethylene diamine tetra acetic acid functional groups are present. EDTA. When this EDTA first hardness causing salts involved in the reaction with this indicator. Here the indicator added is eriochrome black tea. This eriochrome black tea exists in blue color. When it is added to hard water, it able to form unstable complex which exists in red color. That complex may be either calcium EBT or magnesium EBT complex. That is highly unstable, hence it is not favorable. It readily treated with another reagent called EDTA, ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid. When EDTA is added from the burette, what happens? So when EDTA is added, this EBT now replaced by stable complexing agent, that is calcium EDTA complexation. The reason is EDTA is the hexagonal hydrogen. So more the number of electron releasing groups stable will be the complex. That's the reason why EDTA is able to form 6 coordinate covalent bonds with calcium. Octahedral complex formation is possible in that reaction. That's the reason why EDTA is able to form very stable complex. So that complex color is colorless. Calcium EDTA, otherwise magnesium EDTA, color is colorless. And when this complex is replaced, free release of EBT is possible. Hence, we will get blue color at the end point. When indicator is added, color changes to red because of calcium EBT complexation. At the end point, it is shifted to blue color due to free release of indicator at the end point. Now, in the process, we will see how the process is possible. In this, we require standard hard water. Standard hard water is nothing but whose molarity is known, that is 0.01 molar solution is required. In order to prepare the standard hard water, we have to take 1 liter of calcium carbonate. This calcium carbonate is added with dilute hydrochloric acid. When hydrochloric acid is added and boiled, this calcium carbonate now converted into calcium chloride, that is water soluble. Initially, calcium carbonate is water insoluble, that doesn't cause any hardness, but when it is added with dilute HCl and boiled to evaporate in the sense no liquid should be present. Till total liquid is evaporated, we have to boil this mixture. When it is boiled, this water insoluble calcium carbonate now converted into calcium chloride. So now this solution, whatever residue is there in the beaker, it is made up to 1 liter by the addition of distilled water. Now we prepared 1 liter of standard hard water. In that 1 gram of calcium carbonate mixed with excess amount of dilute HCl and further subjected to boiling till total liquid is evaporated. Now that solid exists in that beaker is added with distilled water and made up to 1 liter. So this is about the step 1, which is called the preparation of standard hard water. In the second step, what we are doing, we are going to prepare EDTA solution. 4 grams of EDTA mixed with 0.1 gram of magnesium chloride and made into 1 liter. So in this way, EDTA solution is prepared. In order to prepare Eriochrome black tea solution, 0.5 grams of Eriochrome black tea was taken and added with ethanol or methanol, any kind of alcoholic solution was added to that. In order to prepare the buffer solution, buffer is very important in this estimation of hardness because pH should be maintained 9 to 10. In order to maintain that, here ammonium chloride and ammonium carbonate mixture is required. That ammonium chloride, ammonium carbonate mixture is prepared by taking 67.5 grams of ammonium chloride, 750 ml of ammonia solution, and finally added with distilled water and made up to 1 liter. So this is about the preparation of buffer solution. In this way, we prepared all the solutions. Now what we are doing, we are going to do the titration. So in order to titrate, burette should be filled with EDTA solution. 20 ml of standard hard water just to be prepared. So that should be taken into the conical flask. 4 ml of buffer solution should be added and 2 drops of EBT indicator. Now titration is carried. At the end point, what happens? Red color turned into blue color. That blue color is taken as the end point. Okay. So burette, EDTA solution should be there. Conical flask, standard hard water solution should be there. Indicator EBT and buffer solution, that is basic buffer, 4 ml should be added. After this, we have to go for the calculation using formula M1V1 is equal to M2V2. Let us consider M1V1 terms belongs to standard hard water, M2V2 terms belongs to EDTA solution, M1 molarity of standard hard water, that is already prepared one, 0.01 molar, and volume of standard hard water is 20 ml, we prepared out. EDTA molarity we have to determine. Volume of EDTA is nothing but how much amount consumed for the titration. Then in order to get, so just now we determined EDTA concentration by using the formula M1V1 is equal to M2V2. So EDTA, that is M2 is equal to M1V1 by M2. Sorry, M1V1 by V2. By using this, EDTA molarity is calculated. Now we are going to determine total hardness followed by permanent followed by temporary. So in order to determine total hardness, again burette should be filled with similar EDTA which consumed in the previous step. So same EDTA filled in the burette. 20 ml of sample hard water should be prepared into the conical flask and buffer solution, similar buffer solution is added, and one more, that is indicator, 2 drops EBT indicator is added and titrated against EDTA solution. At the end point again color changes from red to blue. Then the difference is here we have to take sample hard water. In the previous step we took standard hard water what we prepared. Here we have to take sample hard water. So that is only the difference, and the remaining titration process is exactly same. Here we are using the formula M2V2 is equal to M3V3. These terms, M2V2 terms belongs to EDTA and M3V3 terms belongs to sample hard water. So total hardness of water we want to determine. That's why sample directly taken and titrated against standard EDTA solution. Now, by using this formula, we will get molarity of sample hard water. So molarity of sample hard water is calculated. It is converted into weight by taking the formula molarity is equal to weight by gram molecular weight into 1000 by volume. That is the formula for molarity. Molarity is calculated here. That is total hardness molarity is known. Now weight of the hardness is calculated by taking molarity into molecular weight of calcium carbonate into volume by 1000. Okay. So weight is equal to molarity into molecular weight into V by 1000. Molarity just calculated in this step. Then molecular weight of calcium carbonate is 100. Then We are calculating total hardness present in 1 liter solution. 1 liter nothing but 1000 ml. So 1000 ml by 1 liter nothing but again 1000 ml. These two terms get cancelled. So here M3 into 100. 100 is the molecular weight of calcium carbonate. The value obtained in terms of grams. In order to convert this grams value into milligrams, this total term, that is M3 into 100, should be multiplied with 1000 so that the value obtained in milligrams. So this is about the total hardness of water, whatever molarity of sample hard water into 100 into 1000. 100 into 1000 is nothing but 10 to the power of 5. So molarity into 10 to the power of 5, we will get its a weight of total hardness. So milligram per liter is exactly is equal to ppm. Whatever hardness obtained here, that can be simply considered as ppm. So because ppm is the universal unit for the measurement of hardness, M3 is the total hardness molarity. 10 to the power of 5 is nothing but 100 is the molecular weight of calcium carbonate. Then 1000 is multiplication factor to convert grams into milligrams. In this way, M3 into 10 to the power of 5, we will get total hardness in ppm. So this is about total hardness. In order to get permanent hardness, we have to take 100 ml of same sample hard water just to be titrated. That 100 ml should be boiled till it is converted into 50 ml. That means boiling of the solution till it becomes half the volume. If you are taking 100, that should be reduced to 50 ml. Till that volume, we have to boil the water. While boiling, temporary hardness of water is completely removed. When temporary hardness of water is removed, water sample only contains permanent hardness. After removing that, after removing the temporary hardness, again water should be made up to 100 ml by the distilled water. Now, titration process remains exactly same. What we have to do, we have to pipette out 20 ml of boiled hard water here. 20 ml of this boiled hard water. We have to mention boiled hard water. Boiled hard water should be taken into the conical flask and added with buffer solution 4 ml and 2 drops of indicator, that is EBT. EBT indicator is added, titration, which leads to color change from red to blue. Color change and the titration process is exactly same. Only the difference is we have to take boiled hard water in case of permanent hardness. Okay. Then after this titration part, we have to go for the calculation where formula will be M2V2 is equal to M4V4. We have to consider these M4V4 terms belongs to permanent hardness. That means boiled hard water terms. Okay. Now in this M2 is known, that is molarity of PDTA is known. Volume of PDTA is nothing but volume of EDTA consumed for the titration in this step. How much volume of EDTA consumed for the titration? That is the Biuret reading value we have to insert. M4 we have to calculate in this step, that is permanent hardness molarity M4. Volume of permanent hardness is nothing but we are taking then M4 is equal to M2V2 by V4. So in this way, molarity is calculated. Simply we can convert molarity into weight by multiplying with 10 to the power of 5. Because 100 is the molecular weight of calcium carbonate, 1000 is the multiplication factor in order to convert that gram value into milligram per liter, which is exactly is equal to ppm. Simply we can multiply M4 nothing but molarity of permanent hardness with this 10 to the power of 5 factor, so that it is converted into weight of permanent hardness in ppm. Now, total hardness is known, even permanent hardness is also known. Then temporary hardness is equal to total hardness minus permanent. So it is possible to calculate temporary in terms of ppm because already these values are existing in ppm. This is about estimation of hardness of water. by using complexometric titration, because we are titrating against TDTA. The TDTA is used to complex with hardness causing salt, so that here estimation is possible. The main principle is Eriochrome black tea first complexes, which is very unstable complex. So when titrated against EDTA solution, EBT complex now replaced with calcium EDTA complex, and free release of indicator is possible. First, we are titrating against standard hard water in order to standardize EDTA solution. After standardizing EDTA solution, we have to take sample water, and sample water is titrated against standard EDTA solution, so that we will find molarity of standard sample hard water. If molarity is known, it can be converted into weight by multiplying with 10 to the power of 5. Then value obtained in ppm. Now, that water can be boiled in order to remove temporary hardness present in the water. Temporary hardness mainly caused by bicarbonates present in the water, so that permanent hardness will remain in that solution. After boiling, again same procedure is continued to determine the molarity of permanent hardness. After getting molarity of permanent, we have to convert into weight. So that is again M4 into 10 to the power of 5. So if total and permanent is known, temporary is obtained by differentiating these two. So the temporary hardness is calculated. And the next is about very important topic, potable water and its treatment. This is a very, very important topic we are going to discuss. Potable water is nothing but the water which fits for drinking purpose, so which is suitable for consumption by human beings, called potable water. So as already we know, water is very essential for the survival. All our biological activities are mainly mediated by water. So in our body weight is constituted by around 60 to 70 percentage. So our body weight mainly constituted by water only. Most of the biological process are carried through the water. So all the reactions, all the metabolic activities in our body are carried by this water only. Hence, it is very essential component for the survival of all the living organisms. That's the reason why it is very important to know what are the important characteristics required and what are the treatment methods involved in this potable water. According to World Health Organization and Indian Standards of Drinking, Bureau of Indian Standards of Drinking, water should contain following characteristics. These are called specifications of potable water. Here, in examination, there is a possibility to give exclusively specifications of potable water. That's the reason why we have to we have to conscious about these specifications are important. Characteristics of potable water. Potable water should be very clear and odorless, pleasant to taste. So if any color is there, that indicates some dissolved solids present in that, so that it is not fit for drinking. Optimum hardness should be less than 125 ppm. If it exceeds 125, that causes so many adverse effects in our body. Less than 125, it may not cause any kind of adverse effect. pH should be suitable in the range of 7 to 8.5. That is nothing but water should be in the neutral medium. That should not be acidic, that should not be basic. Even slight basic conditions, it is permeable but not acidic conditions. And the recommended maximum concentration of dissolved solids, total dissolved solids in simply indicated as TDS, it should not exceed 500 ppm. Nothing but dissolved solids, any kind of salt materials, any kind of minerals present in the water should not exceed 500 ppm, then only that fit for drinking. Turbidity is nothing but any solid impurities or any coagulating matter present in the water should not exceed 25 ppm. Turbid matter, clay particles, any other solid should not exceed 25 ppm, then only it is fit for drinking. And the most important, some of the water entities may contain dissolved metals. These dissolved metals causes so many type of diseases. So that's why water should be free from such kind of toxic metals. Some of the metals are important for consumption. Some other in minute quantity only. For example, copper, zinc, manganese, all these are important in the minute quantity. But when such metals are present in the water, these metals causes adverse effects like lead, arsenic, chromium, and manganese. So these are not preferable. And the most important is pathogenic organisms like bacteria, virus, fungi, algae, and protozoans. When such a kind of microorganisms, these are mostly transmitted into the human population through this water as a medium. Hence, so these pathogenic organisms should not be present in the water. So when these are present, so many waterborne diseases are possible. So that's the reason why water should be free from all kind of disease causing organisms. It is a very important step. The removal of these disease causing organisms called disinfection or sterilization of water. Now, dissolved gases should not be present in the water. So very important, essential oxygen should be there, but not uh, dihydrogen sulfide, carbon dioxide, and ammonium. When these gases present in the water, that causes foul smell and also unpleasant and causes adverse effects. Hence, water should be free from such kind of dissolved gases. So these are the important specifications or requirements to take water as a potable water. So these parameters should be maintained. And the next, let us see what are the important steps involved in the treatment of potable water. Let us go to a small demonstration for this drinking water treatment. First, water is allowed to pass through these screens. These are called screens, which are very essential to trap all the solid impurities present in the water. These are the screens used to trap. And the next is about sedimentation. In this sedimentation, what we are doing, water containing any kind of turbid matter in that, like sand, any clay particles, any denser particles present in the water, all those particles, when allowed to stay as such, because of gravitational force, they are slowly deposited at the bottom, and that is called a sedimentation. Okay, so after this sedimentation process, so sedimentation is very slow process and all the particles may not be suspended at the bottom. That's the reason why we need to add some coagulating agents. Okay. So coagulation and sedimentation is somewhat different. Sedimentation is the natural process. Precipitation of all the impurities present in the water by gravitational force is possible. But in case of coagulation, we are adding some chemicals to the water, and when chemicals are added, what happens? That water sedimentation or coagulating process can be enhanced. These are called the coagulating agents. Better examples are alums, sodium aluminate, ferrichloride, ferrous sulfate. Okay, alum is nothing but potassium aluminium salt it is, and sodium aluminate, it is a sodium aluminium oxide it is. Then ferrichloride is also used to enhance the mixing of semi-solid kind of particles. Even ferrous sulfate can be added. All these, when mixed with water, they used to aggregate all the solid or semi-solid impurities present in the water, and slowly they get deposited at the bottom. Let us see a simple example. When aluminium sulfate is added with calcium bicarbonate, this aluminium sulfate is converted into aluminium hydroxide, and calcium bicarbonate is converted into calcium sulfate, so that they get deposited at the bottom. So in this way, coagulation, which is also called as flocculation process. Flocculation is also coagulation only, slow mixing of all these coagulating agents. You may take either any of the compound can be added. Alum is nothing but potassium aluminium oxide it is. Otherwise, sodium aluminate can be added. Otherwise, ferrichloride, ferrous sulfate, they can be used as a coagulating agents. This coagulation process is also itself given for short answer question. That's why it is also important. And the next we will see filtration process. How can we filter the water? By taking sand bed filtration method. Here we have three layers of sand bed. One is gravel layer. Second is here coarse particles are present. Third is fine particles are present. Based on the surface region, the extent of adsorption of impurities are possible. That's the reason by various layers are used to adsorb various type of impurities present in the water. Sand filtration is the efficient method because sand is the efficient adsorbing agent. So by passing water through the sand filtration, what happens? All the solid impurities present in the water can be removed. So this is the sand filtration process. It is very essential to remove solid impurities present in the water. Then next method is called disinfection. Disinfection is a very important process. Disinfection is nothing but removal of all the pathogenic organisms from the water is called disinfection. Now let us go to our this slide where disinfection is possible. This is a sand filtration process just to be saw how it is possible. In this, disinfection is carried by boiling method. Simply, when water subjected to boiling, what happens? All kind of pathogenic organisms can be easily destroyed because microorganisms may not survive, especially aquatic microorganisms may not survive at high temperature. We are subjecting it to 100 degrees centigrade for the period of 20 minutes. When it is boiled for 20 minutes, all kind of, irrespective of bacteria, virus, fungi, protozoans, algae, any kind of organisms which causing diseases, all get removed by boiling process. But only the drawback is for huge quantity of water, we can't apply this boiling method. But individual home applications, we can apply this boiling. And second is about ozone treatment. Ozone treatment is nothing but water is passed with ozone gas. Ozone is highly unstable gas which is readily converted into molecular oxygen and nascent oxygen. The released nascent oxygen used to kill the pathogenic organisms. Microorganisms are killed by this nascent oxygen released in this, but only the drawback is it is not possible to get ozone freely because it is highly expensive and it is not stable and we can't store for longer time. And next efficient method is chlorination. By direct passing chlorine gas into the water, we can add a hypochlorous acid. Hypochlorous acid is the very important component in the water which used to sterilize, which used to kill all kind of pathogenic organisms, because hypochlorous acid can be dissociated into HCl and nascent oxygen. Again here nascent oxygen released able to kill this pathogenic organisms. This is direct passing chlorine gas. And next is about chloramines.